The bank manager looked at the check, the 10,000 zalauzen, then looked at the man holding it, faded jeans, worn boots, motorcycle helmet. She slid it back. Sir, this is fake. Keanu Reeves said nothing, just stared at her. What she didn't know. He had 340 million in her bank. What he didn't know. She'd done this 127 times before, to people who couldn't fight back, and in exactly 48 hours, her entire world would collapse. But here's the part that will shock you most. This wasn't random. Keanu had been testing this bank for 3 months. He knew exactly what would happen. Someone very close to him had been rejected here. Someone who lost everything because of it. And he was about to expose a conspiracy so deep, it would shake the entire banking industry. 3 people would go to prison. 1 would take their own life, and 4,000 families would get their money back. But first, he had to walk out of this bank, get escorted out like a criminal. Let them think they'd won. Because what Sandra Milburn didn't understand was this: Keanu Reeves wasn't just a customer. He was a trap, and she'd just walked right into it. Have you ever been judged by your appearance before anyone knew your story? Have you ever been treated like you didn't belong, simply because of how you looked? What happened next will leave you speechless. 6 months earlier, Keanu sat in a hospital room. His stunt coordinator, Marcus Chen, lay in the bed. Tubes everywhere, monitors beeping. Stage 4 cancer. They'd worked together for 15 years. Marcus was more than a colleague. He was family. I need to tell you something, Marcus whispered. Keanu leaned closer. I lost my house. What? Marcus's eyes filled with tears. The medical bills. I applied for a loan to keep my family's home. The bank refused me. Marcus named it. The same bank Keanu had used for years. My credit score was 695. I had collateral 20 years of steady income. They said I qualified. So what happened? The manager looked at my address, looked at me, said the loan was high risk. Marcus coughed. Keanu handed him water. 2 weeks later, they foreclosed. My wife and kids, they're living with her sister now. Keanu's jaw tightened. Which branch? Sunset Boulevard. The same branch Keanu used. Sandra something. Milburn, I think. Keanu sat back, his mind racing. Marcus, I'm going to fix this. It's too late for me, man. I wanted you to know. That place, they don't care about people like us. People like us. Marcus smiled weakly. People who don't look rich. Marcus died 3 weeks later. At the funeral, Keanu met Marcus's wife, Jenny. She handed him a folder. Marcus wanted you to have this. Inside were documents. Loan applications, denial letters, bank statements. All from the same branch, all from people in Marcus's neighborhood. All denied for vague reasons. Keanu studied them that night. Found a pattern. Same zip codes, same excuses, same manager's signature. Sandra Milburn, he called his financial advisor. Michael, I need you to do something for me. Anything. Pull every loan application from the Sunset Boulevard branch for the past 2 years. Anonymous data. I'll pay whatever it costs. What are you looking for? A pattern. 2 weeks later, Michael called back. Keanu, you were right. Show me. They met at Michael's office. Spreadsheets covered the desk. Lower income zip codes 71% denial rate. Upper income zip codes 9% denial rate. Same credit score ranges. Identical. Keanu's hands clenched. Is this legal?
Technically, yes.
They're using risk assessment algorithms. But the algorithm is clearly biased. Can we prove it? We'd need someone to experience it firsthand. Someone they can't ignore. Keanu looked at the data. At Marcus's neighborhood highlighted in red. At Sandra Milburn's name appearing over and over. Set up an account transfer, Keanu said. To where? I want to deposit my next studio check directly at that branch. In person. Michael blinked. You're going to test them. Les. Keanu, if they recognize you, they won't. I'll go on a Saturday morning. Busy, I'll dress normal. No security. No assistant. And if they refuse you? Keanu's voice went cold. Then we'll have everything we need. 3 months later, Keanu's film wrapped. The studio cut his check. To 10 million. Back-end profit participation. Instead of wiring it, he kept it. Waited for Saturday morning, dressed in his regular clothes. Jeans, t-shirt, motorcycle boots. No disguise, just himself. He rode his motorcycle to the bank, parked, sat outside for a moment, thought about Marcus, about Jenny and the kids, about the 127 other families in that folder. Then he walked inside, stood in line, and waited. When his turn came, he stepped to the counter. Sandra Milburn sat behind the glass. She didn't look up immediately. Keanu placed the check down. I'd like to deposit this. Sandra glanced at it. Her eyes stopped on the amount. then traveled up to his face, to his worn clothes, his scuffed boots, and Keanu saw it. The exact same look Marcus must have seen. Judgment, dismissal, disgust. Is this some kind of joke? She asked. And in that moment, Keanu knew. The trap was set. Now he just had to let it spring. Sir, this doesn't look legitimate, Sandra said. Keanu stayed calm. Studio, I'd like to deposit it. Do you have an account here?
Yes.
For 15 years. Sandra's eyes narrowed. She typed something, looked at her screen. Her expression didn't change. I'm going to need additional verification. Like what? Proof of income tax returns. A letter from the issuing institution. For a deposit. For a deposit of this size?
Yes.
Keanu noticed something. She'd barely looked at the check. Hadn't called the studio. Hadn't verified anything. She'd just decided, based on how he looked. I've been banking here for 15 years. Keanu repeated. That may be, but I don't recognize you. She leaned forward slightly. And frankly, you don't look like someone who handles this kind of money. There it was. The exact same phrase from Marcus's denial letter. Word for word. Keanu had memorized it. What Sandra didn't know was this. Keanu wasn't alone. In the parking lot, a surveillance van sat quietly. Inside, Michael and Caroline, his attorney, were recording everything. Audio, video, timestamps, everything. But that wasn't even the shocking part. What Sandra really didn't know. 2 FBI agents were sitting in the waiting area, dressed as regular customers, watching everything. Because 3 days earlier, Keanu had taken his evidence to the Federal Reserve, shown them the pattern, the data, the systematic discrimination. They'd opened an investigation immediately. And today wasn't just about Keanu. It was about catching them in the act. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, Sandra said. She pressed a button under her desk. A security guard appeared, young, uncomfortable. Mems Milburn, please escort this gentleman out. The guard looked at Keanu. Recognition flickered. Ma'am, I think. No. Keanu raised his hands peacefully. It's fine. He looked directly at Sandra, made sure she heard every word. I'll be back, with my attorney. And you're going to regret this? Sandra's face flushed. Are you threatening me? No, I'm promising you. Keanu turned, walked toward the exit. Every step measured. Calm behind him, he heard whispers. Phones coming out, people recording. One of the FBI agents stood up, followed him out. In the parking lot, the agent approached. Mr. Reeves, we have everything we need. The audio is clear. Crystal, she violated 3 federal banking regulations in under 5 minutes. Keanu nodded. What happens now? We execute the warrant on Monday. But there's something else. What? We've been monitoring her communications. She's not working alone. Keanu's eyes narrowed. Explain. There's a group of managers. 7 branches. They have a private group chat where they share red flag zip codes and client profiles.
Yes.
And it goes higher. Regional director is involved. Keanu felt sick. How many people have they done this to? We're estimating over 4,000 in the past 3 years. Jesus. Mr. Reeves, what you did today, it's going to break this whole thing open. Inside the bank, Sandra returned to her desk. Her hands were shaking. Rebecca approached. Sandra, that was Keanu Reeves. I don't care who he thinks he is. No, I mean, that was actually him. I just Googled it. Sandra's face went pale. What? Rebecca turned her phone around. Forbes article, net worth 380 million. Sandra's stomach dropped. She pulled up his account. 4 accounts, combined balance 3345 22 718. 33. The room started spinning. Oh my God, Sandra, what did you do? But Sandra wasn't listening. She was reading something else on her screen. A notification, a séquentier sur recliste pan to papiro vel all 4 accounts. Submitted 10 minutes ago. From Keanu Reeves's financial advisor. 340 million. Gone. Her hands went to her mouth. The branch manager's bonus structure was based on total assets managed. She'd just lost the largest private client in the region. Her career was over, but she still had no idea. The worst was yet to come, because outside, those FBI agents weren't just watching. They were waiting for Monday morning, when everything would come crashing down. Should the FBI have arrested her immediately? Or was waiting for more evidence the right move? Have you ever witnessed someone abuse their power and wish they'd get caught? Should Keanu have revealed who he was from the beginning? Or did Sandra deserve to be treated exactly the way she treated him? If you were in Keanu's position, would you have walked away quietly or done what he did? Have you ever witnessed someone being judged unfairly, just because of how they looked, and wished you could do something about it? Monday morning, 6:47 a.m., Sandra pulled into the bank parking lot. She hadn't slept all weekend, kept checking her phone, waiting for a call from corporate. A termination notice. Something, but nothing came. Maybe she thought it would blow over. Maybe Keanu wouldn't actually follow through. Maybe. 3 black SUVs surrounded her car. Doors opened. FBI agents stepped out, badges visible. Sandra's heart stopped. Sandra Milburn? She couldn't speak, just nodded. FBI. We have a warrant to search the premises and seize all electronic records. I don't understand. You're not under arrest. Yet. But we need you to open the bank and step aside. Her hands shook as she unlocked the door. Inside, more agents waited. They spread through the building like water. Computers, files, servers. Everything was tagged and removed. Paul Hendricks, the regional director, arrived 30 minutes later, saw the FBI vehicles, turned around, tried to leave. 2 agents blocked his car. Mr. Hendricks, we need you to come inside. By 9 a.m., the lobby was full. Employees stood frozen. Customers were turned away. A senior FBI agent, Special Agent Lisa Martinez, stood at the front. We are executing a federal warrant related to systemic lending discrimination and violations of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Sandra felt like she was going to vomit. Over the past 6 months, we've been investigating coordinated efforts by management at 7 branches to deny loans based on race, zip code, and economic status. Paul's face went white. We have communications. Data recorded conversations. Agent Martinez pulled out a folder. Ms. Milburn, on Saturday, you refused to process a $10 million check from Mr. Keanu Reeves. Sandra's knees almost gave out. During that interaction, you stated, and I quote, "You don't look like someone who handles this kind of money." The other employees stared. You also failed to verify the check, despite having the ability to do so. Instead, you made a judgment based solely on his appearance. Sandra tried to speak. Nothing came out. But that's not why we're here. Everyone looked up. We're here because this is the 128th time you've done this in the past 18 months. The room went silent. 128 loan applications. All from low-income zip codes, all with qualifying credit scores. All denied with vague justifications. Sandra collapsed into a chair. Agent Martinez turned to Paul. Mr. Hendricks, we have your group chat communications. The one where you and 6 other managers coordinate risk profiles based on geographic data. Paul's lawyer, who just arrived, stepped forward. My client won't be making any statements. He doesn't have to. We have everything? Martinez nodded to another agent. He pulled up a screen, projected it on the wall. Group chat messages from Paul are flag any apps from 923 933 959. Standard denials. Sandra got another one. Use the income reliability excuse. Manager 3 or same here. They never fight back. The employees gasped. One teller started crying. These messages represent a coordinated effort to discriminate against protected classes, Martinez said. That's a federal crime. She turned to Sandra. Ms. Milburn, you have the right to remain silent. Wait. Sandra stood up. I was following protocol. Paul told us to. Sandra, shut up, Paul yelled. But it was too late. He told you to what? Martinez asked. Sandra's face crumbled. He said corporate wanted us to reduce risk exposure in certain areas. He gave us a list of zip codes, said to find reasons to deny. Paul lunged forward. His lawyer grabbed him. She's lying. We have the emails, Mr. Hendricks, Martinez said calmly, from your corporate account. Paul's face went from red to gray. And we have testimony from 4 other managers who are cooperating. She paused. You're done. Outside, news vans were arriving. Someone had tipped them off, cameras everywhere. Keanu sat in his car 3 blocks away, watching the live news feed on his phone. FBI rat major biekta shikarai don investigate.
Michael called. You seeing this? Yeah.
They're gonna want a statement from you. I'm not giving one. Keanu, you're the reason this happened. No, Marcus is the reason. And the 4,000 other people they stole from. Fair point. What happens now? Legally. Criminal charges for the managers. Civil suits from the victims. The bank will probably settle for hundreds of millions. And the people who lost their homes. There's talk of a restitution fund. Keanu nodded. Make sure Jenny Chen is first in line. Already on it. He hung up, watched the news for another minute, then turned off his phone, started his motorcycle, and rode away. Because this was never about him. It was about making sure people like Marcus never got crushed by a system that didn't see them as human. But the story wasn't over. What came next would shock even Keanu. Because Sandra Milburn was about to do something nobody expected. Something that would change everything. Again. Should Sandra face criminal charges? Or was she just following orders? Do you think the people at the top should be punished more than the people at the bottom? 3 days after the raid, Sandra sat in a police interrogation room, not arrested, but cooperating. Her lawyer sat beside her, Agent Martinez across the table in IMS. Milburn, we know you weren't the architect of this scheme. Sandra said nothing, but we also know you weren't just following orders. You were enthusiastic about it. Sandra's eyes filled with tears. We have 127 denials with your signature, each one a choice. I was trying to keep my job, Sandra whispered. Be destroying other people's lives. Sandra broke down. You don't understand? Then help me understand. Sandra looked at her lawyer. He nodded. She took a shaky breath. 5 years ago I was one of them. Martinez leaned forward. What? I was on the other side. I was the one being denied. Sandra pulled out her phone, showed them a photo, a younger version of herself, different clothes, different neighborhood, different life. I grew up in Compton, single mom, 3 jobs. I put myself through community college while working at a grocery store. She wiped her eyes. When I graduated, I applied for a small business loan. I wanted to open a financial consulting office, help people like my mom understand money. Martinez listened. I was denied. 4 times, 4 different banks. Same reasons. High risk, unstable income, wrong demographic. So what happened? I gave up on the business, got a job as a teller instead, worked my way up, changed everything about myself. How I dressed, how I talked, where I lived. She paused. I erased who I was so I could become who they wanted. And then you became them, Martinez said. Sandra nodded. I told myself I was just being realistic, practical, following the rules. But you knew the rules were wrong.
Yes.
The room was silent. Ms. Milburn, that doesn't excuse what you did. I know, but it might explain it. Sandra looked up. There's something else. What? The zip codes.
Yes.
One of them was mine, my old address, where my mom still lives. Martinez's eyes widened. You were discriminating against your own community. Sandra's face crumbled completely. I denied a loan to my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. She helped raise me, used to watch me after school while my mom worked. She could barely breathe. She came in last year, needed 8,000 to fix her roof, qualified for everything. I looked at her address and... You denied her?
Yes. Did she recognize you? No.
I'd changed too much. Different name on my badge, married name. Sandra put her head in her hands. She lost her house 3 months later. I saw it on Facebook. She's living with her daughter now. Martina sat back. Ms. Milburn. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've seen a lot of bad people do bad things. She paused. But I've never seen someone destroy themselves quite like this. Sandra looked up. What happens now? That depends on you. What do you mean? Martinez slid a folder across the table. We want you to testify. Against Paul. Against the regional executives. Against everyone who built this system. They'll destroy me. They already did. You just haven't admitted it yet. Sandra opened the folder. Names, positions, evidence. If you cooperate, we can recommend reduced charges. Maybe no jail time. And if I don't, you go down with everyone else. Sandra looked at the names, saw Paul Hendricks, the man who'd mentored her, who'd promoted her, who'd taught her that success meant leaving her past behind. There's one more thing, Martinez said. What? Keanu Reeves wants to meet with you. Sandra's head snapped up. Why? He didn't say. But he specifically requested him. I can't face him. That's up to you. But he's waiting outside right now. Sandra's heart raced. He's here. Yes. She looked at her lawyer. He shrugged. Sandra stood up, legs shaking. Okay. The meeting room was small, just a table and 2 chairs. Keanu sat on one side. Calm, still. Sandra walked in. Couldn't meet his eyes. Sit down, he said quietly. She did. They sat in silence for a full minute. Finally, Keanu spoke. Marcus Chen was my friend. Sandra looked up. The stunt coordinator. You denied his loan. Her face went white. He died 3 months ago. Cancer, but he lost his house first. Because of you? Sandra started crying. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't bring him back. Keanu leaned forward. But that's not why I'm here. Sandra looked confused. The FBI wants you to testify. Are you going to? I don't know. Let me help you decide. Keanu pulled out his phone, showed her a photo of Marcus's kids. At the funeral. That's Jenny. His wife and their 2 kids, they're 8 and 11. Sandra's hands shook. They're living in a 1-bedroom apartment now. 3 people. Because you checked a box that said their zip code was too risky. He put the phone away. If you testify, you can help make sure this never happens to another family. And if I don't, then Marcus died for nothing. And so did everyone else you destroyed. Sandra covered her face, sobbed. Keanu stood up. Agent Martinez says you grew up in Compton, that you were trying to escape.
Yes.
You didn't escape. You just became the thing that kept you down. He walked to the door, stopped. The difference between you and me. When they judged me, I fought back. When they judged you, you joined them. He left. Sandra sat alone for a long time. Then she walked back to the interrogation room. I'll testify, she told Martinez, against everyone. 8 months later, federal courthouse, downtown Los Angeles. The trial had been going for 3 weeks. 7 defendants, Paul Hendricks and 6 other regional managers, charged with conspiracy to commit lending discrimination, violation of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, wire fraud, racketeering. The prosecution's star witness, Sandra Milburn. She'd spent the last 8 months working with federal investigators, handed over everything, emails, internal memos, recorded phone calls, the private group chat logs. Today was her testimony. The courtroom was packed, news cameras outside, victims in the gallery. Jenny Chen sat in the front row, Monica Delgado beside her. Over 200 people whose loans had been denied, all there to watch. Sandra walked to the witness stand, raised her right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I do. She sat down. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Janet Torres, approached. Ms. Milburn, how long did you work at the bank? 12 years. And during that time, how many loan applications did you personally deny based on zip code discrimination? Sandra's voice shook. 127 that I can document. Probably more. Gas from the gallery. And you did this knowing it was wrong? Yes. Why? Sandra looked at the defendant's table. Paul stared at her with pure hatred. Because I was told it was company policy. And I was afraid to lose my job. Who told you it was policy? Paul Hendricks. He sent monthly emails with risk assessment guidelines. They were really just lists of zip codes to discriminate against. Torres pulled up an email on the screen. Subject Q3 Risk Management Update from Paul Hendricks Bank. Reminder, applications from the following zip codes should be flagged for enhanced scrutiny. $9.1, $9.2, $9.3. The list went on all low-income areas. What does enhanced scrutiny mean? It means find a reason to deny. Did anyone ever question this? A few people did. They were transferred or fired. Were you ever transferred? No. Because I was good at it. Sandra's voice broke. I was so good at destroying people's dreams that I got promoted. The jury looked horrified. Torres continued. Ms. Milburn, do you recognize anyone in the gallery today? Sandra looked out, saw faces she remembered, applications she'd denied. Yes, many of them. Can you point to someone and tell us their story? Sandra's eyes found an elderly black woman, 3rd row, Mrs. Patterson. Sandra whispered, Loader, please. Mrs. Patterson, I denied her application for a home repair loan. Why? Because her address was on the list. Did she qualify financially? Yes, 720 credit score. 30 years at the same job. Owned her home outright. So why deny her? Because I was following orders? Torres walked closer. Ms. Milburn, did you know Mrs. Patterson personally? Sandra started crying.
Yes. How?
She was my neighbor. Growing up, she used to babysit me. The courtroom erupted. The judge bangs the gavel. Order. Did she recognize you? Torres asked. No. I'd changed my name, my appearance, everything. And you still denied her?
Yes.
What happened to Mrs. Patterson after that? Sandra could barely speak. She lost her home. It was condemned. She's living with her daughter now. Torres turned to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not just about policy. This is about people. Real people whose lives were destroyed by systematic, intentional discrimination. She turned back to Sandra. One more question. If you could say something to all the people you hurt, what would it be? Sandra looked directly at the gallery, at Jenny Chen, at Monica Delgado, at Mrs. Patterson. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know I destroyed lives, families, dreams. She wiped her eyes. I thought I was escaping poverty by joining the system, but I just became the boot on someone else's neck. And if you could go back, I'd quit. I'd blow the whistle. I'd do anything except what I did. Torres nodded. No further questions. The defense attorney stood up, tried to discredit her, paint her as a disgruntled employee, a liar seeking immunity. But the evidence was overwhelming. Paul's emails, the group chat, the data showing 71% denial rates in targeted zip codes. After 6 hours, The defense rested, badly damaged 2 weeks later. The verdict came in, guilty on all counts, all 7 defendants. Paul Hendricks 8 years federal prison. The other managers 3 6 years each. But the criminal trial was only the beginning. The civil suits were coming. Class action. Over 4,000 plaintiffs. The bank settled 3 months later. A $340 million. Exactly the amount Keanu had withdrawn. The money went into a restitution fund. Families got their homes back. Denied loans were reprocessed. Credit scores were repaired. Jenny Chen got her house back. Mrs. Patterson got a new roof. Monica Delgado got her business loan. And Sandra, she pleaded guilty to reduced charges, no jail time, but 2,000 hours of community service and permanent ban from the banking industry. She started working at a nonprofit, teaching financial literacy, trying to undo a fraction of the damage she'd caused, one family at a time. 6 months after the verdict, Sandra was teaching a class, looked up, saw Keanu standing in the back of the room. After class, he approached. "Can we talk?" They walked outside, stood in the parking lot. "I wanted to thank you," Keanu said. Sandra looked shocked. "For what?" "For testifying. For telling the truth. I destroyed people's lives." "Yes. But you also helped save thousands more by exposing the system." He paused. "That doesn't erase what you did. But it matters." Sandra nodded. "Marcus's wife asked me to give you this." He handed her an envelope. Sandra opened it. Inside was a photo of Marcus's kids, in front of their house, the one they got back, and a note. "Thank you for finally doing the right thing, Jenny." Sandra broke down. Keanu put a hand on her shoulder. "Keep doing the work. That's all any of us can do." He walked away. Sandra stood there, holding the photo, and for the first time in years, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she could become the person she was supposed to be, before fear turned her into a monster. Does testifying against the system make up for being part of it? Should Sandra have gotten jail time, or was community service enough? 2 years later, Monica Delgado stood in front of her third food truck. Second Chances had become a chain, 10 employees, 3 locations, annual revenue $800,000. She'd just been featured in the Los Angeles Times. From Denied Loan to Food Empire, One Woman's Journey. The article mentioned Keanu, but he'd refused to be interviewed. As always, Monica's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Saw the article. "Proud of you, keep going."
"K," she smiled. "Type back."
"None of this happens without you." The response was immediate. "Wrong. None of this happens without YOU having the courage to speak up." Monica looked at her trucks, at her employees, at the line of customers, and realized he was right. Across town, Jenny Chen walked through her house. The house Marcus had almost lost. The house the restitution fund had saved. His photos were everywhere. His stunt awards. His smile. The kids were at school. She had the place to herself. She walked to Marcus's office, sat at his desk, opened the drawer, pulled out the folder he'd given Keanu. All the loan denials, all the evidence. That folder had changed everything. She ran her fingers over his handwriting. "We did it, baby," she whispered. "We really did it." At the bank, Diane Foster sat in the regional director's office, the one Paul Hendricks used to occupy. She'd been in the position for 18 months now. The reforms were working. Loan approval rates in low-income areas up 63%. Customer satisfaction highest in company history. But 3 branches had closed. Cost of the scandal. She got an email. Subject: quarterly report. Asset management. She opened it. Scrolled to the high-value client section. Saw a note at the bottom. Former client Keanu Reeves has not returned despite multiple outreach attempts. She smiled sadly, closed the email. She didn't blame him. Some bridges, once burned. But the lesson remained. And that was enough. Sandra Milburn walked into a community center. Her 847th hour of community service. Only 153 to go. She'd taught financial literacy to over 2,000 people. Helped 3 to 40 families successfully apply for loans. Become a completely different person. After class, a young woman approached. "I'm Ms. Milburn."
"Yes."
"I just wanted to say thank you. I got approved for my small business loan. Because of what you taught me." Sandra's eyes filled with tears. "That's wonderful. I'm opening a bakery. My grandmother's recipes." The woman handed her a flyer. "Ray's Bread, grand opening." Sandra stared at it. "Your name is Ray." "No, Rachel. But my grandfather was Ray. He always wanted to open a bakery but could never get a loan." She smiled. "I'm doing it for him." Sandra hugged her. He'd be so proud. After Rachel left, Sandra sat down, pulled out her phone, scrolled to a number she'd never called. Keanu's. He'd given it to her after the trial. Said to use it if she ever needed anything. She'd never had the courage. Until now. She typed a message. I know I don't deserve to ask this. But would you ever want to help me start a real program? Bigger than what I'm doing. Something that could help thousands. She stared at it, almost deleted it, but hit send instead. 3 minutes later, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Hello. Tell me more about this program. It was Keanu. 6 months later, the Second Chances Foundation launched. $50 million in funding. Keanu had contributed $25 million, matched by anonymous donors. Sandra ran the operations. Monica served on the board. Jenny Chen headed the scholarship committee. The foundation did 3 things: financial literacy education in underserved communities, micro-loans for small businesses, legal aid for victims of lending discrimination. In the first year, 15,000 people trained at 90 businesses funded 67 discrimination cases won. And Keanu, he never did a single interview, never attended a public event, never took credit. When reporters asked about his involvement, his publicist said the same thing every time. Mr. Reeves prefers to let the work speak for itself. 3 years after the trial, Keanu sat on a bench in Central Park, watching people, thinking about Marcus. An old man sat down beside him. Mind if I join you? Go ahead. They sat in silence for a minute. You're him, aren't you? The old man said. Depends who you're looking for. The man smiled. The one who broke the bank. Keanu shook his head. I didn't break anything. I just refused to accept something that was wrong. Sounds like the same thing to me. Maybe. The old man pulled out a photo. A small bakery. My granddaughter opened this. Says she learned how from some program you started. Keanu looked at the photo, smiled.
She did that. Not me.
You know what I think?
What?
I think the world needs more people who don't stay quiet when they see something wrong. Keanu nodded. Yeah, it does. The old man stood up, tipped his hat, and walked away. Keanu sat there a while longer, thinking about how one decision, one refusal to accept disrespect, had changed thousands of lives. Not because he was special, but because he refused to let injustice be comfortable. And sometimes that's all it takes. One person, one moment, one choice to stand up. Final message E. This story isn't really about Keanu Reeves. It's about what happens when someone with power refuses to stay silent. When someone with resources chooses to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. Marcus Chen couldn't fight the system. But Keanu could. And he did. Not for glory. Not for recognition. But because it was right. The real question is, what will you do the next time you see injustice? Will you stay quiet? Or will you be the person who refuses to let it continue? Because real change doesn't start with institutions. It starts with individuals. People who say no. People who demand better. People who refuse to accept that this is just how things are. You don't need to be rich to make a difference. You don't need to be famous. You just need to refuse to stay silent.